Okay, hello, thank you. So I'd like to talk to you about education and about school, but actually most of all, I'd like to talk to you about learning and what we need to unlearn and forget about school. Because there's plenty of things that have been taught to us and that are not exactly what we should know right now. So what we need to unlearn about education and school. When I look at you, I see a lot of very different people. But there's one thing you have all in common, and I'm pretty sure about it. You've all been to school. You remember it, right? Some good memories, some less good memories. The good ones probably are connected to having fun with your friends, maybe goofing around, doing different stuff. The bad ones, well, everybody's got their own probably. And you've all been there for probably at least 12 years. That's a lot. And you'll be spending more time learning, I can promise you that. So, you have learned a lot during those 12 years, but I'm pretty sure that some of the things that you have learned and some of those that are deeply in your minds are not the things that school intended you to learn. Are the things school never thought it would teach you. Because there are three major things that are wrong with school today and that have led lots of students to believe in things about learning that are simply wrong. And I'd like to point about those three things. First of all, the major problem with school today is that it kills internal motivation. What do I mean? Well, kids learn whatever the teachers said they should learn. They don't have a lot of choice about the subjects, right? And they learn at the specific time the teachers say they should learn, and they even don't have a choice of methods. They have to use exactly the same books and learn exactly the same way the teachers tell them. It has a lot of impact, and we'll dwell on it in a moment. The second thing is that the schools have been thought of and created around 150, 200 years ago. It was a different world back then, and the methods that are used today are still the same that have been used in the 19th century. Imagine what's the most important object that you can associate with a school. What's the most important thing that is in every classroom? A blackboard, right? The board you write on. With chalk, I mean the white thing. Or maybe if you went to a much more developed school, you had a whiteboard. Right? But the major idea is exactly the same. And when we look at our world, the technology has changed a lot, and there's a lot of things that we can use for learning that will be very useful to you. We'll go into that also. But the most important thing, and I think it's the most crucial mistake of a school, is learning in loneliness, is learning alone, and an impact that every man for themselves in school. If you learned in groups, that's okay, it does happen, but in most cases, you get individual grades. You're not really advised to work in teams. There's not much teamwork in schools. So, why is that important? Why do we need to unlearn things that are connected with that? Well, most of it, you need to unlearn them because you will be learning all your life. The world is changing, and very rapidly. As you probably know, SMS, the text message, is around 18, 19 years old, right? 20 years ago, nobody expected the world would look like this today. And it will change. Can you imagine the world in the next 20 years? And then 40, and then 60. And by all predictions, you will be the longest living generation since the beginning of history, because of the advancement of medical science. So there's a huge chance that you will live in a world that will be very different from the world today. And you will have to learn it all the time. The times when you could go through school and university and then say, okay, it's enough, I don't have to learn anymore, I'm finished with that, are gone. You're going to be learning all your life. And you better know how. Because if you don't, you're going to spend a lot of time wasted. When I went to university, I didn't know how to learn. And I remember until today, one of the exams I had to study for, I sat in the library for 4 to 5 weeks to learn. It was the hardest one during the whole of my study. And I read, there was a huge book, it was really literally like this, and we were expected to read it and know it by heart. And I did read it, and I prepared myself for the exam, somewhat, And 3 weeks later, after the exam, I found out that I don't remember anything. You know, the 3Z rule, right? So, what's important about this? Because right now, I could use that knowledge. It would seem reasonable, but I didn't use it then. I didn't know how to do it. An even important, more adequate example. When I was in high school, I had German language classes. And I found out a way to hack German, so I didn't have to learn it, but I could get good grades. There was a simple way, and I can tell you how to do it, but it doesn't lead to the results you will need in the long term. I found out because human memory works best when you sleep. That's a funny thing. So it turned out, because I had a test every week on Tuesday, so every Monday evening, I took the words I was supposed to learn by Tuesday, I repeated them 12, 20 times, so a lot of times, then I went to sleep. I woke up, repeated them again, had them memorized in my memory, went to the test, passed the test getting a 4 or 5 grade, went out of the test and forgot everything. So I managed to go through 3 years of German classes, not learning German at all and getting good grades. Right now I regret it. I would need German today. There's lots of occasions I would need it, but then nobody told me school wasn't about grades. I thought it was just a matter of passing the tests, and that's what everybody would expect from me. Now I know better, but it's too late. So that's something I wanted to share with you so you don't make my mistake in that. So how do you learn and in a way that you won't forget it in a couple of weeks? There are 3 major things that can help you. First of all, you need to have internal motivation. You really will go better with using new technologies, and it's much better to learn in groups. Internal motivation. I guess everybody of you remember, since the time when you were kids, something that you really loved. Maybe it was a favorite soccer team. Maybe it was a pop star. Maybe it was dinosaurs, right? Everybody had a favorite subject. Like, imagine your favorite pop star. You probably read about them, saw their videos, memorized the dates of their birthday, memorized the information about where all their concerts. You knew it by heart, right? Everybody had something. Think about something you really were fascinated about when you were a kid. You could learn a lot of information about it, and it was fun, right? You remember that? Okay? So, how is it different from the things you were supposed to learn at school, like geography, history? There was a lot of data there also, like dates, information, names, exactly the same sort of stuff. But somehow, the pop star stuff stick much more in your mind, right? And the history, the geography, somehow abandoned your mind just after you finished school. Or even faster. And some of you didn't just learn it. So why is that? Because of the choice. Because you learned the things that you chose to learn. It was something that was interesting for you, and it was your decision. So, when you have a choice on what you learn, you remember it much better. There's a lot of neurological stuff that is engaged here. We won't go into the details of how your brain is constructed, but you can take it by heart that when you choose what you learn it much better. So, throughout your whole life, if you have a choice, do take it. Choose and stick with your choices. But sometimes there are things that you just have to learn. Because you need to obtain a degree, a certificate, you have to finish some training. There are things that you will have to learn, and you won't have a choice there. So what do you do then? You have two potential things that can help you. You can choose your learning style, because everybody learns in a different way. Some of us learn better by books. Others like video. Others need to talk to friends, and we'll go into the talking to friends later on. So, if you need to learn something and there's not much choice in that, choose at least the way you're going to be doing it and think about it. Make a conscious choice. And last of all, choose your goals. Oh, hey, you have to pass the exam. Let's say you're doing the study, you have to take an exam. So make a goal for yourself. You don't always have to get an A. Sometimes you can stick with a B. That's okay too. But make a choice and know what you're choosing, because then your learning will be totally different. Try it for the next exam you'll have. Really make a choice and decide from the very beginning. You don't have to learn everything. You can choose what you need to learn. Recently, because I teach history, and recently I had a situation of a conversation with a small girl. Her name is Matilda, and she's 9 years old. And she's a kid who really needs a lot of activity, and she needs to be interested. At most of my classes, she just goes around, she can't sit on her hands for the whole time, and she doesn't seem very much interested. And I had a conversation with her just 2 weeks ago, and I said, okay, tell me, what would you like to learn about on history? And she said, well, can I choose from all the history? And I said, well, this year we're doing ancient times, so Roman, Greek, Egyptian, so choose from those. Okay, she says, I'd like to learn about Nefertiti, you know, the pharaoh. It was quite impressive that she knew the name, and it was interesting for her. So I said, okay, the next class is going to be about Nefertiti. And we did a class about Nefertiti, the pharaoh, and the whole, it's an interesting story, you should know it. We decided we're going to do a historical movie on that. So I told them the story, we took a camera, and they reenacted the whole story. And of course, Matilda was Nefertiti. I had never seen her so fascinated. It was because she had a choice of what she was learning, right? So that's a huge difference that happens when you choose your learning objectives, your learning style, or your learning subjects. But that's not all. Technology is changing, and TED is a good example on that. There's at least 3 websites that I would advise you to look up. One of them, of course, you know, right? YouTube. Everybody uses that. But there's a lot of things that can help you, because new technology is not being used correctly in school. Some of you probably know about the intelligent boards that are used in schools, right? The ones that you can write with the digital pen. Well, in most cases, it's done wrong. I've seen a situation where a teacher, because I was visiting a school, I saw a situation where a teacher was reading out a presentation. It was a long slide with lots of text. Actually, it was a copy from a book. And he was reading that out, and kids were writing it out in their notebooks. So that's a wrong idea to use technology in school. But there's a lot of good things that you can do. Like you can use video, so-called knowledge pills, small videos of 3 or 4 minutes that you can learn about a specific subject. Such movies you can find on Khan Academy. It's an internet website when there's a lot of content of knowledge from all over the subjects, from mathematics to history to biology to science, IT. Actually, you name it, you got it. There's another website I'd like to go. It's called Coursera. You can find internet courses from the best universities in the world. You can take a course from MIT or from Harvard or Stanford or anywhere else for free. If you want a certificate, you have to pay, but if you just want the knowledge, you can get it for free. So that's a pretty good deal. And of course, there's YouTube, right? And of course, there's lots of silly stuff there. Most of YouTube is funny cat videos. But there's also lots of interesting, important stuff. So just take a look around. If you're interested in the subject, just search it through YouTube, and I'm pretty sure you'll find it. And finally, the third, and I think the most important part, because learning is a social thing. It's a thing that's better done in a group than alone. Why is that? Because we learn most if there are emotions involved. Now think about sitting in a library, learning, you imagine a huge book, like a really big one. Sitting there, it's dim, the voices are quiet, and you're sitting at the book. What's the notion that comes to your mind? Because to mine, boredom, right? There's not a lot of emotions there. When you learn most, when you interact with other people, because when you talk to other people, we're social animals. We need others to live, we need others to thrive, and we need others to build up emotions. And if we talk to somebody and you try to tell them about what you just have learned, you'll get a lot of emotions now then. I can feel emotions now when I'm talking to you, because I'm trying to get across with a point that's important for me. So if you're learning, First, learn with friends, but don't do it like a group of friends sitting together and everybody's reading their own book. It doesn't work this way. Everybody learns a part and then tells it to all the other participants of the group. It will make a huge difference. Then, if you need to teach somebody, you have to organize the knowledge in your head, right? You can't tell somebody about what you have learned if you don't know about it, you're not sure you're teaching it right. So there's much more energy there. And also, if you know that you're going to be talking to somebody in a moment and teaching them what you have just learned, you will be much more obligated and you will devote much more energy to really understanding what you're talking about. So there's a huge difference there. And finally, if you don't have anybody you can talk to right now, blog about it. Use the internet, again. You don't have to have a popular blog. I mean, you won't have 1 million views at the start, but you can just make a blog and write down the things that were interested to you. You'll find out there's a lot of people who will be interested in the same stuff, and even if they're not, if you decide to publish something online, you will have to concentrate a bit more about learning it, right? Because you will show it to the world. So if you fail at it, if you don't learn it well and you'll write down stupid things, you'll be ashamed, and nobody likes to be ashamed. So it's a sort of a self-trap you can trap yourself into. So, 3 things that we need to unlearn about school. First, you have to choose a lot about the things you want to learn. If you make your choices, your learning will be much more efficient. Second, use technology. It's been invented for something. It's not only funny cat videos. It's not only videos that you can spend and lose your time on. There's a great deal of really important and fascinating information that you can find online. And third, learn with friends, learn in groups. Actually, as I can imagine, there's a lot of friends here that go to courses together. Schedule a meeting when you'll be learning for the next exam session and try to do it together. I can already see some people smiling at each other. Yes, do that. That works, really. And when you do that, you'll get 3 things. Because if you make your choices, you get passion. If you go searching for valuable content, you'll get knowledge. And if you learn with friends, you'll get fun. All those 3 things will make you learn the things that you will remember not only until the next exam, you'll remember them for the most of your life. And you will be learning for most of your life. I can promise you that. Thank you.